Christmas has a far more sinister secret than you may think. This video isn't to ruin Christmas for anybody. It's merely meant to uncover the shocking yet terrifying history of Krampus, a demon tied to this holiday. So who exactly is Krampus? Krampus, in Central European popular legend, is a half-goat, half-demon monster that punishes misbehaving children at Christmas time. He is the devilish companion of Saint Nicholas. Krampus is believed to have originated in Germany, and his name derives from the German word Krampen, which means claw. Krampus was thought to have been part of pagan rituals for the winter solstice. According to legend, he is the son of Hel, the Norse god of the underworld. With the spread of Christianity, Krampus became associated with Christmas, despite efforts by the Catholic Church to ban him. The creature and Saint Nicholas are said to arrive on the evening of December 5th, which is known as Krampus Night. While Saint Nicholas rewards nice children by leaving presents, Krampus beats those who are naughty with branches and sticks. In some cases, he is said to eat them or take them to hell. On December 6th, St. Nicholas Day, children awaken to find their gifts or nurse their injuries. This is what Krampus looks like. Although Krampus appears in many variations, most share some common physical characteristics. He is hairy, usually brown or black, and has feet that are cloven hooves, and he also has horns that resembles that of a goat. His long, pointed tongue drops out, and he has fangs. Krampus carries chains, thought to symbolize the binding of the devil by the Christian Church. He thrashes the chains for dramatic effect. The chains are sometimes accompanied with bells of various sizes. As we can clearly see, Krampus appears to be some kind of demon. But what if this demonic entity wasn't just mere lore? Demonology is the study of demons within religious belief, depending on context. In many faiths, it concerns the study of a hierarchy of demons. When we take a look at Krampus, he has several similarities to other demons. Not only is his appearance reminiscent of traditional demons, but his actual purpose is as well. For example, him taking children isn't unheard of when it comes to demons. In Mesopotamian beliefs, there is a female demon that does something similar. This entity is said to have menaced women during childbirth and, if possible, kidnapped their children while they were breastfeeding. So basically, it isn't too far-fetched that a being such as Krampus would exist, since there are multiple demons that are already documented as having similar motives. But one key factor I want to focus on is the appearance of Krampus and Krampus's mother. I find it quite ironic that Krampus's mother's name is literally Hel. But who exactly is his mother? Hel is a figure in Norse mythology who is the goddess of the underworld. She rules over this realm, where those who die of sickness or old age, rather than in battle, go after death. Her domain is a place of cold and darkness, in contrast to the more heroic and radiant afterlife of Valhalla. Hel is the daughter of the trickster god Loki and the giantess Angerboda. Her siblings are the serpent Jörmungandr and the wolf Fenrir, making her part of a notable and fearsome family in Norse myth. Hel is often described as having a half-living, half-dead appearance, with one side of her body looking normal and the other side appearing decayed or corpse-like. This reflects her role as a ruler of the dead. The realm of Hel, also called Hell, is where those who die of illness or old age go. It is distinct from Valhalla, the Hall of the Slain, which is reserved for warriors who die heroically. Hel's role in Norse mythology is significant, as she oversees the dead and plays a part in various myths, including the story of Balder, where she is mentioned in connection with the god's death and the efforts to bring him back to life. Hel is a complex figure embodying the darker aspects of the afterlife and the consequences of death in Norse cosmology. This is the one parent we really have any details on, unfortunately. As I always state in scenarios like these where the parent of a particular being is a so-called god or goddess, this lines up perfectly with how demons originally were made. The creation of demons was explained in the book of Genesis when a group of angels came down and interbred with human beings. The biblical giants came as a result, and then the great flood followed soon after eradicating the giants. However, these giants were so demonic that their spirits actually became all of the demons we know of today. In other traditions, these angels later were referred to as gods and goddesses, which God has forbidden humans from worshiping in verses such as Exodus 20 verses 3 to 5. If you're wondering why this is relevant for Krampus, it is because one of his parents is known as a goddess. So I guess it's safe to assume that his other parent would be a human, since we have a pretty good understanding on how demons came to be. In this segment of the video, I will tell a few stories about people who have claimed to encounter this Christmas demon. A man who we will call John says this about his encounter with this demonic entity. Last December, I had a frightening experience that I'll never forget. I had just moved to a small town in the Alps and was settling in for my first Christmas there. The town was quiet and charming, with snow covering everything like a cozy blanket. On St. Nicholas Eve, the local folks kept warning me about a creature called Krampus. They said he roamed the woods that night, punishing those who had been bad. I thought it was just a silly story meant to scare kids, so I didn't think much of it. That night, I was cozy in my small cabin reading a book by the fireplace. Outside, the wind howled and the snow fell heavily. Suddenly, I heard a loud, heavy thud coming from my front door. It wasn't the wind. This was something deliberate. My heart raced and I felt a shiver run down my spine. I went to the door, and when I looked through the peephole, I saw nothing but darkness and swirling snow. I opened the door a crack to see what was going on. That's when I saw him, Krampus. He was huge with dark fur and long, twisted horns on his head. His eyes glowed with an eerie light, and he had sharp teeth that looked like they could tear through anything. In one hand, he held a bundle of sticks, and in the other, chains that clinked with a chilling sound. I panicked and slammed the door shut. The thudding continued, and I could hear his deep, menacing growls coming from just outside. The lights flickered, and the room felt cold and heavy. I backed away, clutching a flashlight, and the only thing I could find to defend myself from this thing, which was a kitchen knife. Even with the weapon I had, I still felt completely defenseless as I was trying to find the courage to face whatever was outside. The door rattled and creaked as this thing tried to force his way in. Just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, the thudding stopped. I knew if it truly wanted to, it could have simply ripped the door off the hinges very easily. I listened intently and heard the growls fading away into the distance. After what felt like an eternity, I peeked through a window, but Krampus was gone. The snow had covered the ground, hiding any tracks he might have left behind. I didn't sleep at all that night, my mind racing with the memory of his glowing eyes and the sound of his growls. The next morning, the village was back to its peaceful self, and people went about their Christmas preparations as if nothing had happened. But I knew better. I had come face to face with Krampus, and it was a night I would never forget. In this story, this demonic entity seems to manifest as a physical poltergeist. A poltergeist is a supernatural being that can physically interact with our world at will. I made this thesis due to the creature first appearing as swirling snow before it fully manifested. This next story is from someone we'll call April in order to protect the identity of her, in case she wants to remain anonymous. She said this about her encounter with Krampus. I had always been drawn to the mystical and the unknown, so when I heard about the old occult site deep in the woods, I couldn't resist exploring it. The rumors spoke of dark rituals and a malevolent presence that had driven people away, but I was determined to uncover the truth. My boots crunched over the snow as I navigated through the dense trees, guided only by my flashlight. The forest was unnaturally quiet, the usual sounds of nocturnal creatures conspicuously absent. It was as if the woods themselves were holding their breath, waiting for something ominous to unfold. After what felt like hours of walking, I finally reached the site. It was an old stone altar, half buried in the snow and surrounded by faded arcane symbols carved into the surrounding stones. There was something unnervingly still about the place, as though time itself had stopped here. I took out my camera, hoping to capture some evidence of this forgotten place. As I began to snap pictures, the temperature seemed to drop even further. A chill crept into my bones and I could see my breath hanging in the air like wisps of smoke. My fingers fumbled with the camera, and as I looked up, I noticed the shadows around me seemed to be shifting. That's when I heard it. a low, guttural growl that made my blood run cold. It was coming from somewhere deep in the woods, a sound so primal and sinister it sent shivers down my spine. I froze, my eyes scanning the darkness, trying to locate the source of the sound. The growl grew louder, more insistent. I glanced at my surroundings, and that's when I saw it, a dark figure emerging from the shadows between the trees. Its form was large and misshapen, covered in dark, matted fur. Its horns twisted grotesquely, spiraling out of its head like the branches of a gnarled, ancient tree. Its eyes glowed with a fiery intensity that seemed to pierce through the darkness, locking onto mine with a hatred that cannot even accurately be put into words. Panic surged through me as I realized what I was looking at. The creature matched the descriptions of Krampus, the demon from the old tales. My breath came in short, frantic gasps as I stumbled backward, trying to keep my eyes on the creature while my mind raced for a plan. Krampus moved with a predatory grace as he approached. The growl I had heard was now a deep, resonant sound that seemed to shake the very air around me. I grabbed my flashlight and swung it toward the demon, but the light only seemed to make the shadows dance more erratically. The demon's laughter, a guttural, resonant sound, filled the clearing. It was as if the very essence of fear had a voice. His laughter echoed off the trees, a sound so chilling it felt as though it were reaching into my soul. I could see the cruel glint in his eyes, the promise of suffering and torment. Desperation clawed at me as I fumbled for my phone, trying to call for help. My hands were shaking so violently that I could barely dial. As I held the phone to my ear, the call went straight to voicemail, a harsh reminder of my isolation. Krampus let out a roar that shook the trees, and the ground beneath me seemed to tremble. The snow began to swirl around us, whipped up by an unnatural wind. I could feel the oppressive weight of his presence, the suffocating sense of doom that seemed to close in on me. I knew I had to leave. Summoning every ounce of courage, I turned and sprinted back through the snow, branches clawing at my face and the cold biting at my exposed skin. The growl followed me, growing fainter but still persistent, a reminder of the terror that had pursued me through the woods. When I finally reached my car, my hands were numb, and my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. I fumbled with the keys, finally managing to unlock the door and get inside. As I sped away from the forest, I glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see Krampus still chasing me. The forest receded into the distance, but the memory of that night remains vivid. I never went back to that cursed place, and I never will. Some horrors are best left undisturbed, hidden away in the dark recesses of the woods where they belong. I want to briefly